Hey everybody, welcome to The Bottom Line. I'm Michael Noland and I have a question for you. How many of you have paid to go see the Eagles live, especially in the last couple of years, 2023 and even 2024? Because according to some sources, you never did any such thing. Oh, I don't doubt that you were there, folks. I don't doubt that you even paid the exorbitant boutique prices the Eagles charge, and I don't even doubt that Don Henley and friends were there on stage. But according to some sources, they never played truly live for you or anybody else in that venue. All right, so first of all, I want to give a big shout out to Larry Graves over at the Canadian Studmuffin channel. He sent me an email giving me a link to a channel I'm going to mention in a minute. And several of you guys out there did the same. But YouTube, they abscond with those links as soon as you put them up in the comments, folks. And by the time I got to your comments, the link was gone. But when Larry emailed me with the link, I was directed to Phil at Wings of Pegasus, a wonderful channel. He does a great bang-up job. And on one of his videos, he did a complete half-hour breakdown on whether or not Don Henley was truly singing live. Now, he did this by comparing sound waves, all right? Which is a great way of taking a look at what's going on with whatever particular track you're looking at. And of course, he was looking at the tracks for Don Henley's voice. Now, after a very detailed analysis, evidently he has come to the conclusion that, well, he doesn't say it, but I will, Don Henley is lip syncing. Now, he did this by comparing a 2023 lead vocal and a 2024 lead vocal that were just too similar. Now, I'm not talking identical, but he explains why they weren't absolutely identical, and that's because of ambient noise. Any time that you are recording a band live, the ambient noise is often out of control. That's why in recording studios, many times you will isolate a singer into a small vocal room with soundproofing. Now, another excellent example, he sang a simple line and then tried to identically sing that identical line on his video, and there were clear differences in the S's and T's, and that goes back to old recording problems. Back in the day, the Beatles would often say sh instead of a harsh S, especially on their earlier hits and their earlier album cuts. This was just a shortcut to soften the harsh sound that S's and T's can pick up on a recording, especially the better the mic, the better that mic is going to pick up those S's and T's. So the man knows what he's talking about, no doubt. And at the end of his video, I concur wholeheartedly that indeed Don Henley is lip syncing at Eagles concerts. Now, why is that so important? Well, despite what many people and many audiences today find totally okay, not okay 20 years ago, by the way, and yet everybody and their freaking uncle these days gets away with it, and everybody's letting them off the hook. But here's the deal. First of all, I want everybody to know clearly, I am a major Eagles fan. I'm even a Don Henley fan, a Glenn Frey fan. I didn't care for their personalities, but I don't let personalities get into my way as far as who I like to listen to. As an artist, Don Henley is absolutely top notch, and I've brought that up many times. But when you think of the Eagles' history and what's going on these days, he's looking more and more like a sad old man touring one more year so that he's taken care of, in his dotage by underage nurses taking care of that fading frame. Now, it comes to no surprise to my longtime viewers to hear me say such things, and I'm gonna let you know, especially if you're new viewers, I have always had problems with certain things that's going on in modern rock, and these things I truly do believe are responsible for the fading of rock and roll in popularity to the general public. I've brought up the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and their shameful actions. I've brought up Jan Wenner and Rolling Stone and many other magazines for their shameful representation of rock and roll. I hate high ticket prices, and guess what, folks? The Eagles are one of those bands that's charging the very tip top of what they can charge. I don't like the constant touring. Oh, by the way, the Eagles do that real well too. They are on the longest long farewell goodbye tour that I could have ever imagined. I've reported that they've added shows. Well, since I've reported that, they've even added a freaking residency in that damned MSG sphere. And the reason I don't like ongoing tours is it gets in the way of artists getting time off and writing new material. You know, the Eagles used to take time off and just spend time writing good quality songs, and we were always assured that their next album was absolutely wonderful. In fact, usually a classic rock album. And another thing I've not liked is bands that are touring with no or very few original members. And of course, the Eagles are guilty of that too. There's only one Eagle, folks. Now, I know some of you still think that, Joe Walsh and Timothy B. Schmidt are there, and so there's 3 Eagles left. No such thing is true. Timothy B. Schmidt and Joe Walsh were never given full membership, and I've done videos on that as well. High ticket prices, of course, the Eagles are right there charging top dollar, just like Paul McCartney and just like Bruce Springsteen. But with the Eagles touring with just really one Eagle at this point, they fall right into that domain. Now add all of that to the fact that they are now miming their vocals. I've kind of got to wonder why anybody bothers to go see these old farts at all. You see, for me, a live performance has to be exactly that. Live. Now, we've talked about nuances where you can kind of bend that rule with some backing tracks, but never backing tracks from the actual hardcore band. I'm dead set against that. So what are we left with here, folks? Well, we have the Eagles, who aren't really the Eagles, charging top dollar for a show they're not even performing live to, not writing more material and producing more Eagles albums. Instead, what do we have? We have an oldies show, and at least back in the day, the oldies would perform most of their stuff in front of their audience. Folks, it's time that we as fans have got to take a stand, and there's really only one way to do that. Quit going seeing these guys. Why would you want to go see these guys in the first place? If you want to hear the hits, go to a donut shop and give a quarter or two into the jukebox and you can hear them. Because I guarantee you that's what the Eagles have become. I was absolutely flabbergasted. I at least thought the Eagles, of all people, were playing their own stuff. Now, I brought this up to my wife, and she goes, well, the guy's given his life, and, she's a softie. And I said, wait a minute. If you and I went to go see these guys, even nosebleed tickets would cost between the two of us, and by the time we got out of that concert, $500. Would you be willing for us to pay $500 knowing that, well, he's put his time in and she saw my point? Always give your wife the bottom line financially, and common sense comes to life. But my question to the tribe tonight is this: is this even the Eagles anymore? We've got one original Eagle left, and with Don Felder illegally kicked out of the band, and most importantly, you don't have Glenn Frey singing, well, basically 50% of their hits. You've got a country singer with a twang doing his best. Vince Gill is a wonderful artist, but he doesn't belong in the Eagles. So with all of that in mind, I want to hear from you guys in the comments. What do you think? Because until we stop buying tickets from clowns who lip sync, this will continue. Because you know what? It's the almighty dollar that these clowns worship. It's more important than their own artistic integrity. All right, folks, that's the video for tonight. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, give it a thumbs up. I always say this because it helps spread the video to a wider audience. And if you haven't joined the channel, you know, I've got tons of viewers that drops in from time to time, and they don't subscribe, and maybe they think it's too hard. So here's how easy it is. See how I segued into that? All they have to do is hit that subscribe to the tribe button, tap that top bell icon, and you got to do that because otherwise you won't be notified of all of my future videos. All right, folks, I'm Michael Noland. This is The Bottom Line, and of course that always is the bottom line as I see it. Part of this whole thing is also the tribe, and the tribe comes alive in the comments. As a matter of fact, it's in the comments that we are the tribe.